How's it going, guys? Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Wrestle Report, episode 32 with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
And I'm Don.
We had quite a lot of wrestling go down this week. We had SummerSlam, we had NXT Takeover, which kind of marks the end of the era in NXT. And I feel like something else happened that we'll probably touch on here. Oh, that's right. CM Punk debuts in AEW and returns to the pro wrestling world for the first time in 7 years. I can't decide if it feels longer than 7 years or like it was yesterday. But I know when he walked out there, it felt like it was yesterday. I just want to jump right into it with that.
You know, I thought the same thing. I was like, man, it felt like 2014, just like a couple weeks ago. It felt like it's been flying. I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy for it. It's gonna be great for the business. I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen with it.
I think what helps with that is he came out and he looked great. He's got a little bit of gray in the beard, not knocking it at all. It honestly reminded me, you guys can't see, but if you turn this way, I have a big Wolverine poster here, like from the movie. And it reminded me of like Old Man Logan. Like that's the vibe I got with just the hint of gray in his beard. And, I woke up on Friday and I was like, I already wanted it to be 10 o'clock. Like, because we knew he was going to be there without knowing he was going to be there, which I think was a genius move by AEW. 15,000 plus people show up for the rumor that a guy's going to show up. The ratings came out a little bit ago, just under 1.2 million for a 10 o'clock time slot. This is something I don't think a lot of people understand. They're like, oh, why is SmackDown doubling the ratings? You are much more likely to be on your couch watching TV at 8 o'clock than you are at 10 o'clock. Yes. And, so that's just my opinion. I don't love the time slot for Rampage. I'm a night owl personally, so it works for me. But if we're trying to get like the highest number possible, I think even 9 o'clock would be a game changer for Rampage in the future if they could bump it up an hour. But I'm sure they have their reasons. But he shows up, basically takes up the first 20 to 25 minutes of the show, really explains, people, if you didn't like my decisions, just know I had to step away. Like we got a lot more than I thought we were. I didn't know what to expect, but I did not think, and he even said, we're not going to get to everything tonight, but we are going to have a talk. And I think we got a little more than I expected. We know for a fact what his debut match is going to be against Darby Allin and everything. And that's going to be great at All Out September 5th. But yeah, it really is a game changer. He broke AEW shop and pro wrestling tees, everyone trying to buy that t-shirt, which at first I was confused because the back of his shirt says, I was there. And me and Billy were talking about this. Why would you want to buy a shirt that says I was there if you weren't there? But apparently the online version, the back is just blank. So it's got like the low, the same shirt, but it doesn't say I was there. But yeah, 7 years is a long time, but clearly he still has the star power. And my biggest thing, and we talked about it last episode, I wanted him to want to be there. And you can tell that he is all in, no pun intended. Like he actually, I honestly didn't mean to do that, but this mattered to him. He got emotional. Part of it, of course, being in his hometown and everything. But to me, that was my favorite part is he mentioned, 2005 when he left Ring of Honor, he left professional wrestling, which was a little bit of a dig at WWE, but it honestly made sense. And he says, now, I'm officially back. And to me, as a fan of his, that's what I wanted to see. It's one thing to see him back, and it's great to see him back, but you could tell the difference if he was just showing up for a paycheck. And that's really not the case here, which is great.
Oh yeah, man. He looks like he's really happy to be there. I think it's gonna be great. Like I said, I think it's gonna be perfect for the wrestling business. The slide digs, I mean, you can say what you want to say. I mean, hey, that's your freedom of speech. I'm getting tired of the digs to WWE from just that whole company.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it is what it is, competition, and they're doing good over there. They're doing real good over at AEW.
I agree. I don't like a dig here and there is fine, but if anyone deserves to throw some digs,
Punk. CM Punk, yeah.
If anything, he was doing them before it was a cool thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But no, it the rest of the show on Rampage was fine. I still watched the whole thing, but like you could tell that's what everybody was there for. And I was wondering, like, are they going to make people hang out for the whole hour? I think that show wouldn't have gotten anything done if they waited. They did it properly, just top of the hour. First thing you see is this. They had him come out. They go to a quick commercial just so they could come back and, let him do the rest of his thing uninterrupted. Sat cross-legged in the ring, everything you'd want from CM Punk. And they did the media scrum afterwards. And he said, this deal is not part-time and it is not short-term, which is two, keys, I think, for all this. But there's a lot to be said here. And then at the same time, we have to just let it play out. But just the fact that he's back, for a while, CM Punk in wrestling was like Bigfoot. You were trying to like follow these breadcrumbs on if it could happen. Was this a hint at it, or this was that and the other? And like like on his Instagram earlier in the day, he posted a picture of like the Dark Knight Returns and some other things. And he was commentating an MMA event, and some guy like got ground control on some, say, oh, he's looking all elite right now. Like he let himself drop some more hints and stuff. And Wednesday he'll be there again. I think we know his first match will be on pay-per-view, obviously in Chicago. Not much more to say at the moment, but it's just great, man. It's truly like one of those, where were you in wrestling? The last one to me was when Sting showed up in the WWE. It's just one of those top, I never thought I'd see it things. And this fits right. This obviously passes that. But it's one of those things you truly never thought. You always wanted it, but you never knew you'd actually get it.
True. For real. Now I got a question for you, Phil.
Hit me.
Where were you at when CM Punk debuted at AEW?
I was on my couch.
You was on your couch?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm just asking.
Okay, wow. Where were you?
Oh, you already know. I was at the game.
Uh-huh.
And then I got a notification from Twitter saying that CM Punk came in, and I was on camera. And I'm peeking. I'm like, oh, snap. It actually happened. It happened, y'all. And then I went to the professor. I was like, hey, CM Punk debuted at Rampage today. He was like, oh, I got to go check that out.
Yeah. Shout out to the professor.
Yeah,
too.
shout out to the professor.
Works at the Tortugas with us and is also involved in the pro wrestling business. So we talked about that a little bit too. But no, it definitely worked out to be there for that. I did miss Dynamite earlier in the week from working there, so it did even out. But no, so again, it's one of those you're always going to remember that you were working with a camera on your shoulder when that moment happened. And it all comes back because unfortunately I will be working during All Out, so I will miss like the first half of All Out at the last baseball game of the season, actually. So I'll miss his first match live, so it kind of evens out, I guess. But it just worked out the way that it did. I was trying to work this into a top three, and I couldn't come up with three myself. This is kind of how we'll, to me, and the CM Punk part of this. But what makes this so much better is, of course, he was in Chicago. And, if somebody didn't know who CM Punk was, if you had to explain it to like a friend of yours, is like, why is this a big deal? I keep seeing this everywhere. And you were explaining to somebody who CM Punk was, you'd have to bring up the straight edge thing. You'd bring up the podcast against WWE and all that stuff. But at some point, for whatever reason, you would mention he's from Chicago. He's a Chicago like guy. And it's like woven in the fabric of who he is. And I was trying to come up with, I couldn't do a top three, so I'm not going to phrase it that way, but like trying to think of another wrestler that like where he was from is just woven into his character, like flawlessly like that. And the closest thing I've come up with is Ric Flair whenever they're in the Carolinas. That's like the only thing I could even put close to that. And I know I'm just springing this on you, but can you think of any?
I was thinking of Stone Cold
in Texas. That's good.
Either Stone Cold or even The Rock. Because The Rock, whenever they're in Miami, The Rock is always, I'm home.
That's true. But like The Rock, like if I don't know who wouldn't know who The Rock is right now, but like him being from Miami and maybe playing at Miami too, that would be like item like 20 on the list of things you would describe him about being. Where in Punk, it's in like the top 5. And Austin too, maybe is in the top. I mean, obviously like the Von Erichs in Texas, I think that'd be another one. But it's very interesting to me, like there's not many guys that where they're from, like is one of the pillars that his character stands on in a way. And it's very interesting. And I
was close to saying John Cena, but then he's like, Newberry.
Yeah, maybe back in his like rapping days, it mattered more and stuff. Yeah. But to me, Flair and Austin would be the only ones that even come close to that, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
like we all know that like Brock's a Minnesota guy, but it doesn't come up ever, you know,
Yeah,
like
like
something like that, for example. More
I
on him later.
mean, if you was to talk about his college career, then yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was great. They were able to do it, you know, in the same arena that the Blackhawks won a Stanley Cup, that Michael Jordan just played in and won NBA championships. Those and the Bulls and the Blackhawks both sent Punk a jersey that they left for him in the United Center, which I thought was really cool. But you know, as cool as this was, where it was almost mattered as much as it actually happening too. Because like if you debut him in Austin, Texas, or Miami, Florida, just to use those examples, the crowd would have gone crazy. But it's a different type of crazy that happened on Friday, you know?
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest pops I've heard
in
a long time. The only one that's close enough is when John Cena returned that Money in the Bank.
The only one that rivals it for me, and it helps because I was there, and the math you can't compare because it was a stadium. I was at the WrestleMania when the Hardys came back, and that's the only thing I put in the same universe as. But again, you're like tripling the amount of people.
Yeah, and it's open, so you're not going to get the same You're not going to get the same like ambiance of if it was in an enclosure.
That being said, if they confirmed for sure that Punk was coming back, that event could have been in Soldier Field in Chicago, and it would have worked out fine. I think they could have put it in the football field, in the football stadium. But no, it is great to see him back. And, you know, again, I assume, you know, I've said it a couple times, but it's more of an assumption that his first match will be at All Out. They could potentially have him, you know, scuffle with somebody in the week. He's going to be at Dynamite on Wednesday. I don't know that I'd like to see him like GTS somebody, just like get a little physical just to give you a taste of it. But, you know, who knows how this is going to go. But to me, the key point of this is the media scrum after, where they mentioned it is not part-time and it is not a short-term deal. And, you know, he mentioned, you know, you don't have to call me a producer for me to, you know, help the young guys. So I think he seems just as excited to help other people as he is to physically be there himself. And I think that's gonna be helpful a lot. So we know it's gonna be Darby Allin. We'll actually end it here. Who would, after the Darby Allin deal, who is someone you'd want to see him face? And let's just to throw this parameter on it, not title based, just a straight up, you know, other person.
Straight up match.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Give me CM Punk versus Hangman.
That I would like a lot, because you could like bring his straight edge into that too.
Yeah,
which I don't know if that's where you're going with that, but that's something
because just because like he could be like, Hangman, look at you, like he could basically do the whole thing what he did with against
Jeff
Hardy back in the day.
And he can go a couple ways. He can like talk down to him. He could say like, you're great right now. You're this close to being the guy here. And, you know, the bottle in your hand is what's stopping you. Like, he could go that route with it, and I'd be all for it. I don't know that this is what should be next, but something I hope we get at maybe a whole year from now even would be good for it. I want Punk and Cody, and there's two ways you can go with this story. One, they have a lot in common. They're the two main guys that walked away from WWE. Cody, you know, like famously said, they fire a lot of people. They're not used to being fired. And I fired them. They didn't fire me. And Punk, you know, notoriously did the same thing. So they could go that route with it. Or you can flip it on its head and basically make Cody the quasi Triple H role. And kind of like, you know, because he's almost turned, you know, you could make the argument he's turned into what he tried to get away from the WWE. He's turned into that Triple H role. So I think I could see that working out too. That shouldn't necessarily be next, but I think that's something that they could
down the line. I can see that. I can definitely see that down the line.
Mm-hmm. But to jump, you know, right after this, Hangman's definitely a good one. Just throw something out there.
Mox, I want to see
Mox. There's something there with Mox too, for sure, because he debuted the Shield and then he left. Like, they were ships passing in the night. They never really were involved with each other past, you know, when they debuted. So that's definitely a good one too.
I want to see him. I mean, if the rumors are right, I want to see him and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, but that needs to not happen right away.
Not yet. Slow cook. That'll be perfect. I would also like to see him versus MJF. I just want to see them two go against each other on a mic.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't care about an actual match. I just want to see them two go against each other on a mic, a promo battle.
Usually as I name these, like, you know, I have some sort of a story in mind. The only one that's coming to mind, I have no story for, though, is like Jungle Boy. I would just like to see him against Jungle Boy just because I think it'd be really good. That's like I
Yeah.
don't know what story you could pull that into, but like I think
I'm gonna throw one at you too. Ethan Page. Him versus Ethan Page would be nice too.
that seems kind of a Scorpio Sky too, like either of them.
Yeah,
Right?
oh yeah.
I know they're kind of like teamed up or whatever, but maybe like Kaz, Kazarian because he's like the elite killer or whatever, backs up Punk and then gets I'm curious too. As you guys probably know, I'm a big Colt Cabana fan, and I don't know where their relationship is right now. It's somewhere between, I don't think they're the best of friends they used to be, but if you ask them if they like hate each other, neither of them seem to lean in that direction.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if they're in a cool enough spot to like team ever again because they were a great team in Ring of Honor. I do hope at some point, even I would love, Punk's walking down the hall at All Out or whatever, and Colt just like is in the hallway and like fist bumps him. Like that's something that would pop the Chicago crowd yet again. Just to give you like these guys might not be best friends anymore, but like, hey, welcome here. Glad you're here. Good to see you, and then keep moving. Like just as selfishly, that's like a selfish wish list thing for me. I hope they're on a level that they're at least because people have asked like a lot of comments you read like, wonder how Colt feels about this, and he was not at the Chicago show. He was actually at the Gathering of the Juggalos show because I follow him on Instagram. That's where he was all weekend. But obviously he'd be at All Out. And that's just selfishly like what I would like to see. I hope they're on a level that they're at least, kind of cool with each other. So that'd be my last bit with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so AEW's in 2 days or a day, depending on when you guys hear this, and we'll know more about it. But we know that he's here. We know he's got Darby Allin at All Out, and we'll see what happens there. Usually that'd be enough for a whole podcast, and we could talk another 20 minutes on Punk, but there was plenty of other good and great wrestling over the weekend. Saturday being SummerSlam, which I would have killed. I just want to start here. I would have killed for SummerSlam to be on Saturday as a kid because it used to be the Sunday before you started school. So like the first day of school, I'd be super tired because I stayed up for the whole thing. I don't know why it's on Saturday. Maybe that's something to do with when they could get in that arena or something. I don't know if the Raiders have.
No, what I heard was what they was trying to do is pick up the because right next door was the Manny Pacquiao fight. So they was trying to get that crowd as well. So like, hey, you can come here and then go right after, go over there.
Okay.
Yes, because Pacquiao was going against Earl Jones, I think his name is.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a big fight, but then Earl Jones got hurt, so he couldn't fight. So that's why I think it was longer. Because it was a long ass show.
Very long.
I think it ended like at 12:30.
Yeah, 8 to 12:30. I want to say it went.
Yeah, it was a long ass.
I was surprised because they got in the habit of starting at 7 and they bumped this one back to 8 or whatever.
I think they put more matches on there just because of the fact that that boxing match didn't happen.
Yeah, that could be the case too, but that definitely explains it. But yeah, I would have loved that as a kid, for it to be on Saturdays. Of course, we get it now that we're adults or whatever. But it is what it is. A lot of good on this. I don't know that so to me, one thing was great, and we'll get to that. But we'll kind of bullet point some of these and then talk more about others. But at the very beginning, we had RK Bro beat AJ Styles and Omos for the tag team titles. This seemed pretty obvious that it was time for it to happen. AJ and Omos, once they won the titles, there was no real plans for them. And RK Bro is one of the
best things in Raw.
Things going on Raw right now. And the match was fine, but no, the title change was necessary, and I'm glad it was a great way to start the show off too, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I enjoyed the match. The match was great. Of course, they're protecting Omos still.
Sure.
AJ did take the pin, but AJ could take AJ could take 100 pins in a row.
Yep.
And still be over.
Yeah.
So it's like it doesn't this loss doesn't hurt AJ. It doesn't hurt Omos. They'll be fine. They'll bounce back.
I'm curious. You say bounce back. I'm curious. Do they just casually make them not a team anymore? Like when Braun Strowman was in the Wyatt family, and then he woke up one day and he just wasn't. Are they just gonna kind of split them off?
I think they'll probably still do. They'll still be together.
Yeah.
And then they'll probably split apart because I know that there's supposed to be a draft in October.
Okay.
So that could possibly be a way to split them up. But I think Omos is perfect with AJ, and I think AJ he could be his Diesel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could just continue being his Diesel. They could do one-on-one matches with people, tag team matches here and there. Just be his muscle.
For sure. And AJ, I don't know what their plan is, for him next, but Omos being there definitely helps. I know eventually they want him off on his own, but I don't think he's quite ready for that yet anyway. So him as AJ's muscle, like you're saying, is probably the best move, in his future for sure. Next we had
wait, one second. I got one more thing. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I could see AJ going after Damian Priest.
Yeah, that's true, and we're gonna talk about that. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, I mean that seems like a logical next step, I guess.
Yeah.
So real quick between those two, we had Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie. Alexa Bliss won. Do you got anything to say on this? Because I don't.
Yeah.
No.
Doudrop needs to leave her. Doudrop is great. I've actually been watching
me too.
her as Piper Nivens from NXT UK. Thank you, Peacock. So I've been watching her and I'm like, she's great by herself.
Yeah,
she could be a champion by herself.
Drop even this too. I'm glad you brought it up. We've dunked on Peacock plenty of times on this show. Had no issues with it personally. I know some people that did, so they're not completely out of the woods. But and truth be told, I was watching it on Donovan's account. We were watching it at the same time, and neither of us had issues. So, good for that. And I didn't watch Takeover, which we'll get to until today. So I had to rewind and go back and stuff, and it worked. Quick nitpick, when you watch something back, the network used to let you know when different matches started.
Yeah.
Thumbnails in there.
I want that. The timestamp.
So I'd love for that to eventually catch back up. But I got to say, for this weekend, the Peacock did well. I will say that.
I'll say that too. They need timestamps.
Yes, definitely. All right, so that was it on the Bliss match. Damian Priest beat Sheamus for the U.S. title. This was good. One of our buddies, shout out to Luke. He was hanging out with us. He's not huge into wrestling, but even this match, so he knows who Sheamus is, so that helped. But this match caught his attention. This was a very hard hitting match, and I almost forgot how long Sheamus has been U.S. champion, and it was a good run for him. But Damian Priest, it's one of the few guys out of NXT that they've treated correctly and treated with respect coming out. And him winning the U.S. title here, I was happy for. Good match, well paced, only 13 minutes in length, which was enough time for these guys. They didn't overstay their welcome, and I liked it. And Priest winning is definitely the great decision. And of course, this is the first huge crowd, full capacity thing WWE's done at this magnitude. So to start the show off with 2 quick title changes in the first 3 matches, I think it really set the tone for the rest of the show.
Oh yeah. I definitely enjoyed this match. I told you earlier I was playing Call of Duty, and that match actually took most of my attention because I could hear the slaps, and I could hear the punches, I could hear the slams.
Yeah,
it was a hell of a match. So that took a lot of my attention away, and I'm happy that Damian Priest won. He needed the win. I would like to see him versus AJ next. Like I said, I would like to see that.
I'd be down for that. Absolutely. Talk about a match that stole this one. I won't call it the match of the night. That comes later, but this is the 6-man award. The match that was kind of slept on. The Usos and Mysterios, they've gotten great chemistry. The reason for that is they've wrestled a hell of a lot, and that's the only negative in this is it was great, but I know that I've seen it at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. And
I kind of thought the Mysterios were going to win the belts back as just a feel-good moment, but they've already had 2 title changes, and they probably wanted we'll get to the Reigns match, but they wanted that moment where the Usos still had their belts and Reigns retained and everything at the end of the show. So I had a little bit of a surprise that the Usos retained, and I don't even know if this was the best match that they've had, because again, they've had a lot of them, but this was very good. 10 minutes long, just, really quick, really fast. And, I hope they kind of separate now. And Michael Cole even said at the end, he's like, oh, the Mysterios will have to wait another night to try and retain the, and that makes it sound like we're going to have this again. And it's not that it's not good, but I love pizza, but how many nights in a row can you eat it? That's how I feel about this.
Yeah, man. Give me Usos versus Street Profits at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah. What have they been doing? Are they even
they've been going against the Academy.
Oh, Otis and Gable.
Yeah. Gable. Hell, give me Otis and Gable versus the Usos. I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
Like it's weird because people sleep on the tag teams that SmackDown does have or that Raw has. There's some teams out there. I think they'll probably have. I think Night of Champions is next.
Okay.
So I think they'll probably have probably a couple title changes and then the draft is the next month. We'll see what happens. They can always build tag teams together, you know.
Yeah, that's true. And like, I'm not saying never do this again, but like it needs a break at least, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like give me Ziggler and Rude.
Yeah, and they they had a couple good matches. Like if like the Street Profits beat the Usos eventually, them against the Mysterios would be great. And even if like Alpha and Otis got a run, them against the Mysterios would be great. You just you have, like you said, you have more. People do like to dog on WWE for not having a lot of tag teams. They have more than you would think right now. They just got to use them properly. All.
Definitely.
So what do we got next? So this, I don't know about you. I think we're gonna agree on this. Got a new SmackDown Women's Champion. I believe Sasha has COVID. I think if not, that's the story they're going with at least. Kind of messed up that they still brought out the t-shirts for people to buy that had Bianca and Sasha's, graphic on it. That's a little messed up. But Becky Lynch comes back, huge pop, as to be expected. She's a top 5 over person in the company, man or woman. I think we can both agree Becky being back is good, but like they kind of did Bianca that, like I'm trying to the best way. There was a way to do this still. But the way they did it, I was not a huge fan of how they did Bianca.
I gotta get something on my chest.
Yeah.
Bianca Belair got cold feet.
Yeah.
She got cold feet.
You're right.
I like you said, I'm a big fan of Becky Lynch. Like you said, she's probably top 5. I would say right now in the business, yes, top 5. But what they should have done was they should have had at least a match that was not so short. We're talking seconds, bro.
27 seconds to be exact.
How much?
27 seconds.
Her promo before the match was much longer. Her walkout to the damn ring was much longer than the match itself. I would have been okay with a 10-minute, 11-minute match.
I came in here. You guys can see behind me those on YouTube. My beer fridge is in this room, right? I came in here to get another drink. We were watching out in the living room. The time it took me to get it and come back, I just saw Becky Lynch standing in the ring with the belt. I had no idea what had happened. And there was a story to tell here. Like, Bianca and Sasha have been great, right? And it's if you a 10-minute match where Becky just seems like a step ahead or whatever, you could tell the story of like Bianca's a great champion, but she was not training or prepared for Becky Lynch. That's all you had to do. Like it's not even her losing. That's the issue. I don't think. Like no. Sure, I would have liked to maybe seen her have the title a little bit longer, but like
that was the issue for me.
That's what you had to say.
The issue for me was how short the match was.
Yeah,
that was my issue.
And you're right. It wasn't even a match. This was 30 seconds.
It was a squash match. She got squashed.
The Bliss Eva Marie match was 4 minutes. That's at least a match. It's not a good match, but it's a match. Yes.
You know what's sad? As we're talking about this, I'm watching Raw right now.
Oh yeah, Raw is on. There's no.
Yeah, I got it going on my TV right now, and they're showing the shit right now when Becky came and took the title. Bullshit.
I am curious. I'll have to go back. Like, I'm sure she's gonna come out and like talk. They're gonna have her do the on back speech because Punk did one. I'm calling that right now. I don't know if it's happened yet. I don't know if she's in the ring or anything, but
no, we still
it's coming. When it happens, let me know. I don't know if you got the captions on your screen or anything, or if you can hear it, but when it happens, let me know because I'm calling it right now.
Why we bullspit? I'm gonna go ahead and put that on. Yeah. I don't have it on. I have the TV muted right now.
Sure. I mean, if you see Becky like on the screen,
we'll do it. I'll do my thing.
Okay, so we're gonna fast forward a little bit here. We had Drew and Jinder in what was, this match was 5 minutes. It was fine. Drew won, which was the right move because his two dudes were banned from ringside. Don't have much to say on this. Drew should have won. It was fine. You probably could have put this a little earlier in the night. It seemed out of place this deep in the card. But I guess with like the Becky Lynch pop, they wanted to settle it again a little bit,
Yeah, give you a cool down real quick.
So that being the case, no real complaints here. Jinder versus Drew, there's obviously a story there dating back to 3MB and everything. I don't know if this is like the end of what they got going on, but it was fine, and Drew winning was the right move. I don't know if you got anything else to say on this one.
Yeah. Match.
Yeah. Next, we had the Raw Women's Title match. We had Flair, Nikki Cross. I don't know, what does ASH stand for? Do you know?
Almost a superhero.
Okay. I know who came up with this because he works backstage nowadays. Is Gregory?
No, actually, supposedly she came up with this.
But it's got to be based on R.I.P. Rosie with the SHIT.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how I didn't catch that yet, but no, it's okay. That's funny. And Rhea Ripley triple threat match. Charlotte wins her 12th women's championship.
Sheesh.
I would have liked to see Nikki find a way to retain here. Like, do we really need to get it back to Charlotte right away?
Nah, yeah, I felt the same.
But the match itself was pretty good. Like,
yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of the better matches of the night.
Yeah, like it was better than. I can't say it's better than like Usos Mysterios, but it was like on that level. It was kind of on that level.
It was on the tier. I would say a tier below that.
Mm-hmm. Like the RK Bros and AJ and Omos kind of stuff. Yeah. Because Omos can only do so much, so it was almost a handicap match with some break spots of Omos being in the ring and Michael Cole being, look how big he is. That's basically how all that went. Next up is what I would consider the match of the night. I don't know how you feel, but this Edge versus Seth Rollins match was great. This is something we've wanted to see for a long time, and they really gave it to you in a way that it felt like SummerSlam. Edge came out, starting with the Brood music, which was great. I really wanted Gangrel to be there, just when he came out of the smoke, just be behind him, pat him on the back, and just like disappear into the smoke or something. Like, there's no reason he shouldn't have called him for this. Obviously, Christian cannot be there, but he's got his own thing going on these days. But
that would be cool too, though. Just for one night only. I mean, I feel like they didn't end on bad terms. If anything, Christian was upset with WWE type shit.
Yeah. Oh no, there's nothing that would have stopped it from happening except WWE doesn't operate that way.
Yeah.
If this was AEW, they'd have Christian show up, with Edge and Gangrel with the Impact title on, just sitting behind him. That forbidden door is wide open. WWE claims that theirs is, but it's not. So no, not a whole lot I can say. I love how they went through, basically the history of Edge. He even does he did some of Beth Phoenix's moves, and Rollins did some of Becky's moves, and just all this great stuff. And Edge winning probably the right move in my opinion. But this was match of the night for me.
Oh yeah, this match was great for me too. It was one more match that I liked more than this match.
Okay.
Just because I like the story of it. Mm-hmm. But this was definitely the second match of the night from me personally. Great match. I love the callbacks to the Brood.
Yeah.
I'm a mark for the Brood. When I heard the music, I was like, yo.
Top 5 wrestling theme, at least in WWE theme.
And people always, side note, this is dude on TikTok. He has that listed as the worst song in history.
Unfollow.
Yeah. Yeah, for real, man. But
what do you think's the worst?
The worst theme.
The worst theme. Like, I'm gonna disqualify the right to censor where it's just like a car alarm, but like an actual song. I don't know. That's tough.
That's a tough one.
It's definitely not the Brood. The Brood is top 5, top 10 all time in my opinion.
Definitely. But since he took off the right to censor, that was definitely my choice because I used to have to mute the TV when they came out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, no,
But back to
we'll keep that in there. Let's do that next week. Top three worst themes.
worst
Keep that in mind. That's a tease for next week.
Gotcha.
So we'll do it that way. So next up too, we had WWE Championship match, sort of. We had Lashley versus Goldberg, sort of. This ended up being a referee stoppage. I assume this was meant to happen, right? Like, at no part did I think it was truthfully an injury, because they did the gimmick at the end with Goldberg's son coming out, like, unless that was going to happen anyway, and they just told him to go.
I don't know. I thought about that too. I was like, because I've seen worse beatings, and I've seen people like, hell, the Kyle O'Reilly yesterday. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
He looked like he was more in pain than Goldberg was. That I think it was on the fly. I think he probably was hurt. And he tried to do what he had to do. But I could see it being a storyline. I can see it being a storyline, them going against each other at Crown Jewel, especially since what happened after the match.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, like, if it's nothing, because, like, we're both football fans, those non-contact injuries, which is kind of what this was, he gets his leg just kind of popped, like, those are sometimes worse. So if it is actually, I mean, Goldberg's 51 years old now, so it's in the realm of possibility that he was truly hurt. And if that's the case, you never like to see it. But it felt awkward to the point where maybe the thing with his son was supposed to happen anyway, but it was supposed to happen after a true match ending,
Yeah.
And maybe Lashley was going to retain either way.
And I also think, like, just because what happened after the match, with the whole beat down, I think it was a shoot, because if he was actually legitimately hurt, they would have put the X's on him, and he wouldn't have been able to do none of that.
And the thing with the son was obviously part of it, because if Goldberg hurt or not, if Lashley went out for, which he does not seem like that kind of guy, like, if he truly put his hands on his son and he wasn't supposed to, I don't care if Goldberg's hurt, he's probably going after him. So that's not the case.
Oh yeah,
definitely. And MVP did the whole, like, we had no way of knowing that the dude that jumped in the ring was Goldberg. Like, that was probably the best part of all this, that he had to play like damage control in my opinion.
Bro, MVP is the GOAT, bro.
He's the MVP. He's the MVP for a reason.
I got a question for you, bro. Who's better? I think someone asked this question before. I'm not sure. But who was better for Bobby Lashley? Leo Rush? Or MVP?
That is a tough one. I'm gonna go MVP, but what Rush did for Lashley made himself look good, and it made Lashley look fine. But it's like, he was, proofs in the pudding. When he was with Rush, he was the Intercontinental Champion. When he was with MVP, he's the WWE Champion. Like, it's that idea, but grown up. It's really the same. You're working off the same thing. That's a tough one though, because what him and Rush did was great.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say the same thing, just because Bobby Lashley was the WWE Champion, and he was also the
U.S. champion.
U.S. champion. So, like, he got two titles to one. I could say,
And again, it just feels like the same idea, but like more serious.
Yeah.
And because you had the first one, it makes this one feel that much better, I think. Like, the fact that he's done both, it really helps his character. Speaking of which, I'm about halfway through, now that I have Donovan's Peacock account, I'm halfway through the Broken Skull sessions with Austin and Lashley. And it's pretty good. Talks about, like, his time in the army, how he got into, like, wrestling and all that stuff. And there's some good, so, like, because you don't hear Lashley talk a lot, and he, it's like an hour and a half of Lashley just talking. So it's pretty interesting to hear him just tell his life story. So pretty good stuff if you haven't seen it. That leads us to the main events: Roman Reigns and John Cena for the Universal title. So SmackDown on Friday, before the stuff with CM Punk happened, I'm trying to kill time. I watched some SmackDown. I'm watching some preseason football. And I watched the end of the show with John Cena and Reigns. And, they've been throwing barbers back and forth the past, like, 2-3 weeks. And I had, when I tell you, I had my phone out on Twitter, and I was in the process of typing, got to give it to SmackDown. That ending was great. And I was like in the process of typing that out. And then Reigns hits us with the, if I lose, I'll leave WWE. So I just delete tweet and throw my phone over my shoulder. Just tell me that didn't ruin this for you. Reigns ain't going nowhere.
Well, I didn't notice. I didn't know that until I got home.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew low key in my soul, I was 98% sure that Reigns was going to win already.
Regardless, yeah.
Yeah, but then I was also 2% sure that John Cena was going to win just because the whole Ric Flair situation.
There's always a chance. There's always a chance that he wins.
Always a chance for John Cena. 1, 2, 3. You know,
it could be low, but it's never zero. You know, that's how that goes.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. It was a great back and forth. It felt like it mattered. There was years and years behind this, and he throws that out there, and it's like, why? The crowd even was like, why? Like, why take it there? Why does that matter? You know, that ruined it. The match itself still very good. Cena obviously hasn't lost a step, but he's not human like the rest of us. Like, he seems like he's been never left the ring. Really, he did great.
Yeah.
Love the new T-shirt too. By the way, Super Mario 3 with all his title reigns on the back. I never thought at age 29 John Cena would release a shirt that I would actually wear, and he did. So credit to him. I'm not saying I'm gonna, but I would if I had it. You know. But no, great shirt, great match. But that you would think that'd be the end of the show. So actually, before we get to the end of the show, any other comments on this match? I thought it was great. Roman obviously needed to win because the hole he dug himself into. But you know, great, worthy of the main event of SummerSlam without a doubt.
Yeah, I think it was a great match. This was actually my match of the night, just because of the build of the match.
Mm-hmm.
Including, and it was a great match. It was not like a dud. It wasn't a dud at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was two big stars that I actually wanted to see against each other. Hands down, match of the night for me. I want to see who's next. Because I would say Seth, but but we also see who came out at the end of the night.
That's got to be it then. And now, Brock Lesnar came out in like a ponytail and a wife beater.
Bro, I am loving this Brock Lesnar, bro.
At least he looks different. If you're gonna give me the same old shit, at least put in a new rapper, I guess. You know,
bro. Brock is looking more jacked than ever.
He looks more lean to me. He looks more naturally big, actually.
Yeah, that's that farmer. That's that farmer's.
He's farm boy strong for sure. But you know, he's back. To me, it would have made more sense for him to come out because, like, we've seen Roman and Lesnar in 2018, 2019. I think some of 2020, maybe not because he didn't show up for the pandemic. But we've seen I don't mean the match. We've seen the feud. This will now be 3 separate times. And to me, that's a little unacceptable. However, we've never seen, and we've kind of always wanted to see, Lashley and Lesnar. So had he came out, had he dismantled Goldberg, and you know how maybe that wasn't supposed to go that way, but had he came out and gotten Lashley's face, then we're cooking with grease, in my opinion. But I would say that too. Mm-hmm. But just because when the placement of the match, if that Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg match was the main event, then I could see that happening. I understand that part of it for sure.
Because that's what you want to close on, that face to face of Bobby Lashley and Brock. Yeah, I was actually hoping to see Brock tonight and be like, okay, cool.
You thought he was going to show up 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, right. Just get rid of the fact that the whole Roman Reigns thing. But I mean, I like the story just because it's different. It's different from the last one because Paul Heyman is with Roman, but then I also could see them turning, having Paul Heyman turn on Roman. Yeah, that is the one wrinkle that this has never had. Obviously, the whole Paul Heyman thing, and I'm sure that's what they're thinking about it too. So you know, it does give you that. So that's good. But other than that, you know, I would have liked to see the Lashley thing, and maybe we will at some point in this run. He's obviously
re-signed because there was a time where technically he was a free agent. What's going to matter more in 3 months? This Lesnar return or the Becky Lynch return? I think it's Becky far and away.
Yeah, Becky, just because she'll be there more than Brock, and she's the champion right now. I think rumor has it that she's gonna be turning heel. She's heel. She's trying to be a top heel. Mm-hmm. So she's gonna so we'll see what happens with all that.
Yeah, she returns and to this massive pop, and someone's sitting backstage like, can't have that. Better turn her heel.
Yeah. You know what's sad? I got one thing to say. You know what they could have done? Just to say Bianca. You know how they had Carmella come out?
Yeah.
They could have had the whole triple threat match. Becky knocks out fucking Bianca and
beats Carmella.
Becky taps out for Carmella. Boom. You got yourself a champion. Everyone's happy because Bianca's protected. She didn't get pinned.
And then you go into that feud.
And then you go right into that feud.
Sure.
That would have been perfect. Come on, WWE. Sign me. Creative.
If we can think of it with 5 minutes of thinking, there's no reason they can't either, though.
Jesus.
But overall, good show. Not great show, but good show. There was stuff I liked, stuff I could do without. And then, the Lesnar thing's significant. While he's not my cup of tea, or at least hasn't been for several years, I understand how it's significant. Overall, pretty good show for WWE. Obviously, it was, and it never is when NXT produces on the same weekend. It's never the best show of the weekend from the brand, but moving forward, it might, because we will get to how we're going to take a small break here, and then we'll get into what was kind of advertised as the end of an era for NXT in Takeover 36. So we're going to go into that in just a second.
Oh, Extreme Rules.
All right, good to go here. Back at it. NXT Takeover 36 was on Sunday. Had 5 matches. A lot of good stuff on this show. Really nothing bad, which there almost never is for NXT. Really the story here more than the matches, and there was some of them that were stories still. That they went into it. I think one of the announcers even said, the final chapter in this era of NXT, and the exciting new chapter. They told you without telling you, because we've heard the story how NXT is going back to developmental style, a true developmental. They're not gonna try to out indie the indies like they've done for the past couple of years. And then that being said, and knowing that's where they're going, some of these decisions are a little head scratching, but we'll get to those as they come. The first true match of the night, LA Knight and Cameron Grimes for the $1 Million Championship. If Grimes had lost, DiBiase would have had to have been Knight's butler. And this story's been very entertaining. Cameron Grimes ended up winning the title back for Ted DiBiase. This was fun. This was great, what you expect from these guys. I assume this is kind of over now. And really my question for you is, at one point, does Cameron Grimes just give him his belt back and he kind of goes away with it? Because you're not going to have this title regularly defended. It fit this storyline, but this kind of has to be the end of it, no?
Yeah, I think so. Well, or at least you have Cameron Grimes has it for a while, and then he finally just turns on Ted DiBiase to go back heel. Because right now he's definitely babyface, and then just he'd be like, I don't need your crappy $1 million champion. I got the real championship right here, type shit.
Yeah. Although I got one story that you would love for this to happen, right? So who's the one guy that would benefit from the $1 million title the most in all of WWE? Who's down on his luck and has no money right now? Who's broke as a joke? Baron Corbin could show up because he stole the Money in the Bank too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that you can bring this into it, but what if he cashed his stolen Money in the Bank in on the $1 million championship? And then DiBiase says, I want my belt. Obviously, money's no object for me. How much is it going to take to get it back? He gives him $1 million or whatever, and Corbin's back, living large again. That would be the perfect ending to this titles lineage going on right now.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah. And it could still happen. You never know.
Yeah, because you never know what they're gonna do with Cameron Grimes. Are they gonna bring him up? Because it's developmental now.
Yeah.
Damn it. Fuck you, Vince. I'm sorry.
So I'm also interested too what they do with LA Knight now.
Yeah,
he's not a guy that needs developmental. He is someone that they could use on the main roster. That's something I like to see. He's not young either. He's in his late 30s or even early 40s. It would not surprise me if he's early 40s, but he's definitely late 30s. So he's not a young man. So he's someone that they don't want older people on NXT anymore. It's funny now, depending on who their champion is too, but he's someone that would like to go up there. Raquel Gonzalez defeated Dakota Kai by pinfall. This was fun. I never at any point thought Dakota Kai was actually going to beat Gonzalez here. So this was very paint by numbers. This is what you expected, but it was a good showing, for the women's division, I thought.
Oh yeah. I would have been okay though. I would have been okay if Dakota Kai was the win and to move up Raquel, because the women's division in the WWE Raw, like Raw itself needs Raquel. I think so.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
Needs to be on Raw. I would hate to see her on Raw, but I would love to see. I would rather her be up there and Dakota Kai being the champion.
Yeah, that's true. But overall, good stuff. I'm curious where they go from here with her, and who they have her challenge next.
Well. At the end of the match, he had another surprise.
Oh, that's right. Here, take over. Go ahead.
We got the former UK Women's Champion, KB Ray.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, so that's where they'll go with that, and that should be good. It seems like, and I assume because they're gonna slowly maybe shut down NXT UK or really limit or just tape a bunch of stuff at the center and use it as that show. Like a lot of the guys, maybe they were just here for Takeover and for the next set of tapings or whatever. But a lot of the UK talent is here right now for whatever reason, so that could be why. So we might get that match sooner than later because they might only be here for a set of tapings, let's say, and then they go back. But speaking of UK stuff, Elijah Dragunov defeats Walter for the UK title. This was next level. So this is not quite, to me the best Walter match. And to me, you don't watch Walter wrestle, you experience Walter wrestle, because his stuff is just so different than anything you're ever going to see with anybody else. The Pete Dunne match against Walter is still my favorite because you get all the Walter stuff mixed in with Pete Dunne's like joint manipulation where he's like stomping on his fingers and all that. It added a whole nother dimension. But this was great. And the ending of how he just chokes the life out of him. Like this felt like a fight to the death. Like it's the closest thing to a fight to the death I think I've ever seen in a wrestling ring.
Oh my God.
And so somebody made this joke. I'm not taking credit for it. Elijah's chest was so red it looked like he got CM Punk's chest tattoo during the match. Like it was perfectly just across his chest. And the size difference worried me. Like, am I really to believe that this is the guy that beats Walter? But it was done in such a believable. He didn't pin him. He didn't even roll him up. He literally just choked the life out of him. Everyone's got the same windpipe. I don't care how big you are. If you can't breathe, you can't breathe. It was a very, believable way to get the thing off Walter. And I don't know what this means. Do they bring Walter to the main roster? Because that's something I've wanted for a very long time. I don't know where they go from here, but this was, the O'Reilly Cole match is obviously something we'll talk about in a minute. And it was great, but it's hard to not call this match of the night, in my opinion, like for what it was.
Bro, this match was not match of the night. It was match of the night for me.
Yeah.
Them boys was laying into it, as you see on Dragunov's. I'm not even gonna try to attempt to say his first name.
Elijah. That's it.
You're better than me, bro.
It's Lija. I'm assuming it's Elijah. That would make sense. But yeah, but Dragunov is such a cool last name.
Yeah,
it sounds like a Pokemon even.
Oh yeah, bro. If he ever gets called up to the main roster, he will definitely lose his first name.
He's just gonna be Dragunov, yeah. Which this will be one of the few times that I'd be okay with that because it's such a. Cool
yeah, definitely. But yeah, as you see them, he was red. This was one of the best matches I've ever seen in 20. I've been alive for 29 years. Been watching wrestling since I was about 5 years old, maybe a little younger. This is probably one of the best matches I've ever seen, just because how intense it was. How I thought multiple times that Walter was going to come out with the win.
Yeah,
and a lot of people didn't like the finish, but I understood.
I love the finish. Yeah,
I understood the finish because if you notice, Dragunov slapped his ass and slapped his throat first.
Yeah,
and then he put him in the headlock. But he
I love. Some people had a problem with this. I love that he tapped immediately.
Yes.
To me, that made it better instead of the whole dragged out. I think it was perfect. I'll say one thing I didn't love afterwards. He's standing there with the belt. The foot on the chest seemed a little much, because that's just so here's my thing. If he would have done it and he kind of slaps the leg off and rolls over and then rolls out of the ring, that would have been cool. Because when guys get choked out in UFC, eventually they come to. They're standing up in the next 2 to 3 minutes, unless they're out. So he could have been in the corner, hunched over and trying to get his win back. It seemed a little much, but they played it up nicely. I forget what, but it was I'm a little rusty on my Greek mythology, but it felt like whoever cut Medusa's head off and held it over the town folk. That's what it felt like to me. The foot on the chest, just a tad too much. I don't hate it, but I wouldn't have done it. That's my only complaint, if it's even one. But this was just fantastic, man.
I had one nitpick too, and it was just because there was a botch. I don't know if you saw it. When Walter had Dragunov about to suplex him from the top rope.
Yeah. I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looked like they just fell backwards. And that was it.
But in this British strong style, I never know what's a botch and what maybe he tried to kill the guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's hard to call any of their stuff botches. I'm sure maybe it was, but I know exactly the move you're talking about. But maybe he was just I'm gonna drop you on your head now. Okay, maybe that's how that was gonna go. But no, fantastic. I wonder what Dragunov is. Of course, a made man now. I'm curious what they do with the UK title. That they just regularly put it on NXT TV with it's almost its own division, like the British guys. But maybe they do something like that. And then again, Walter by Survivor Series, I'd love to see him Imperium, captain at Survivor Series team and just destroy everybody or something. But we'll see about that. Next up, 2 out of 3 falls, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. This was about what we've seen a lot of these guys. Just had plenty of the extra twist to it. 2 out of 3 falls. O'Reilly wins the first fall fairly quickly with a very innovative roll up of the Tequila Sunrise, which made sense because who's going to know Cole more than Riley? A street fight happens, you get what you expect, and then the steel cage. I was a little confused that in WWE usually a steel cage means you got to escape. So when they started going for pinfalls and submissions, it took me a minute to figure out that you could actually win that way. But O'Reilly, ends up winning the feud. The rumor is that Cole's contract, he's a free man unless he decides to resign. O'Reilly, at this point, they already got rid of Bobby Fish, and something that we talked about last show and we didn't really agree with. O'Reilly's, needs to eventually face Joe. I think if you're going to keep O'Reilly, because you would have, unless you're going to release him like you did everybody else, that he's someone that should be in line for the NXT title, in my opinion. But this was great. This is how you want to end the feud. At the moment, Adam Cole is not under WWE contract. In theory, he could show up on Dynamite on Wednesday because his contract expired. He wasn't released. Big difference there. Yeah. But overall, what'd you think of the match, and what do you think's next for Adam Cole?
I thought it was great match. Great matches, I should say.
Yeah.
I didn't like the first fall just because of the fact that it's typical WWE type of thing. Mm-hmm. First match always goes quick, then the second match and the third match usually is the bread and butter.
I like the pinning combination. I liked and how it ended. Yeah. But it was really short, which great.
Give me 10 minutes of that first match. Give me. I would have been okay with the second match being a little bit shorter just because of the street fight. Yep. So you got more objects and shit.
Yeah.
That bump that freaking Kyle O'Reilly took though. that was a nasty bump, man.
The one that stands out to me in the street fight is when Adam Cole has the trash can on his head and he does the running, drop kick when Adam Cole's sitting in the chair. That's the one that sticks out to me.
Yeah, that was sick too, bro.
Yeah.
There was some sick moves, like things that were happening in that second bout. And then the third bout, I felt like it was short too. The third bout was relatively short. I felt like Adam Cole probably tapped out a little bit too quickly, but I understand why he tapped out, just because there's no rope breaks in steel cage matches.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
And Kyle O'Reilly was basically on the ground already, so it was like,
I felt like this should have been the main event, and the fact that it wasn't is telling. Like, they didn't want to give Adam Cole a main event send off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, and on the part of the Adam Cole thing, I mean, I would love for him to stick around in WWE, go to the main roster, because there's nothing else for him to do in NXT.
Right, he's done everything.
Yeah, but I could definitely see him going to AEW. I'm still gonna have the same my same criticism of AEW. AEW is great. Don't get me wrong. But what are they gonna do? What are they doing with their homegrown talent?
Yeah. It could go either way. I mean, Vince was basically trying to get him to stay and go to main roster and do things there. So like that would be at least interesting for a year. It's a matter of when your initial plans run out. We've seen it so many times. Guys could debut pretty decently, and then it kind of fizzle out. So the thing about this is, I feel by the next show we have, we're gonna have a lot of answers about what's up with Adam Cole. So I think we'll put a pin in that, for next time.
Oh yeah. Also, I got one more thing. Damn, I had it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So if it comes up, we'll double back. But the main event, there's really not too much to say about this. So Samoa Joe really runs through Karrion Kross in a way that was so it reminded me a lot of the Kross Keith Lee match when Kross won his title back. Like, it's like, we kind of have to have a match because this was our plan to give the belt to this guy. So we have to physically go out there and go through the motions and give you the belt back. And I'm kind of happy for Joe, because there was a point that we didn't know if he was going to get to wrestle again. And now he's champion of developmental, which is just a weird way to go about it. And Joe is, older. They said they didn't want older guys, but maybe you can have the champion be older at least, and kind of be the leader of that locker room. But to me, the story here is just the fall from grace for Karrion Kross. They didn't give him the Scarlet, which is half of his act. People were chanting Hardy at him, which, I mean, if you're an NXT fan, I don't know how you can call yourself an NXT fan and then go and do that, in my opinion, because that's not how that should go, in my opinion. Yeah. But Joe's the champion, and I think he will be for a good amount of time as they go through this new transition for NXT. So to me, the bigger question is Kross going to be on his way out too? Are they going to try and salvage him on the main roster? Where do you think that goes?
I think that Kross is definitely getting called up. He's already up already. He's already
technically, yeah.
I could definitely see him. I don't know. I think him and Scarlett are gonna end up being on the roster, on the main roster, and like the reports say that he's gonna be losing. He's not gonna be booked as strong as he is on the main roster until Scarlett comes back.
Which at least there's some logic to that, but I'm curious what they do with him.
Yeah, like they're saying that Scarlett is not there is the reason why he lost.
Yeah,
against Joe.
I could at least go that route. Yeah,
because she's always been there when he won. When she's around, he's always won.
Yeah, exactly. So you can bring him back. Kind of make that. In their eyes, that'll be enough to cover it up. I don't know that it is, but they'll
probably not in our eyes or other wrestling fans' eyes, but definitely, probably in their eyes.
Yeah. Overall, great. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, great week of wrestling, and doesn't even really slow down because now we're on the fast track to All Out. We have NWA 73 over this weekend, which my quick little NWA mini here. Going to be a great show. Ric Flair is going to show up first time in NWA ran, show in, 30 years or whatever it might be. Trevor Murdoch puts his career on the line against Nick Aldis for the NWA title. Chris Masters, Chris Adonis facing a returning James Storm for the national title, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I just wanted to plug that in case we don't put out a show until then. Check it out. The pay-per-view is like $20 on Fight. I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to have a quick little breakdown of it next episode. So I hope everyone enjoyed this week of wrestling. We are officially on the road to All Out. Punk is back, and we get all this fallout here from the pay-per-view. So I want to thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.